Mercurial mercenaries. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. You're used to watching me react as I listen to music. Well, last night I was watching a program on the TV that I try and watch is pushing it a little bit, but I do watch quite often an episode or two a day. And I was watching this particular program. It's called Bullseye. It's an old quiz show, used to be on British television in the 80s and 90s. And I was watching this episode and I thought, this would make a good reaction. So I quickly pressed record and I'm going to put the episode on the screen in a minute and we're going to react to it. And there's a reason why we're going to react to it. This is such an example of a program of its time. Now, Bullseye was a program based on the game of darts. Now, that's very much a British sport. And some of you viewers around the world might not be fully aware of it. But it was so popular here in the 70s and 80s that we had a quiz show based on the throwing of the darts. And it's easy to be snobbish about television. This program was on a Sunday tea time. And funnily enough, even though I used to watch it then as a child, today I enjoy it even more because, like I said at the beginning, it's a sign of the times. Now, before I switched over to Bullseye last night, I was watching the latest episode of Only Connect. And I said to the person I was with that Victoria Corin Mitchell, who is on my laminated card, is my favourite quiz show host, second only to Jim Bowen. Jim Bowen was the host of Bullseye. He was an ex-school teacher. In fact, hold on, I have his autobiography, Jim Bowen, right place, right time. When you read this autobiography, that's what comes across the most in it. He's constantly saying how he didn't have a lot of talent and his whole career was based on being at the right place at the right time. But look, this book is signed. It's signed by Mercurial Mercenaries. Jim Bowen himself has put his hand and probably rested it on the page just there. Jim was not a natural game show host. You know, when you think about a game show host, especially the American guys, but it applies here as well. It's slick, it's smooth, it's prepared, totally professional. Jim Bowen was not like that. Jim Bowen was just a bloke who'd wandered in off the street and presented the program. And Jim had a good line in dialogue with these contestants on the show. Bullseye was a show where Jim Bowen asked the contestants for little stories that had been pre-prepared, which he had a punchline for, little joke for. But often when you look back at these shows, they were hysterical for the wrong reasons. There was an episode that I rewatched recently where this lady comes out and Jim Bowen says to her, "All right, love, how you doing?" And she says, "Oh, I'm all right, Jim." And he says, "You got a story, haven't you, love? You've been on a diet, haven't you? You used to be a big girl, didn't you?" She says, "Yes, Jim, I used to weigh, I used to weigh quite a lot. I've actually lost 5 stone." The audience go, "Woo!" But Jim looks at her and he looks her up and down and he says, "You still got some way to go, love, haven't you?" And I was watching it with someone, looking at the telly, my jaw just dropped, like, holy shit, did he just say that? But everyone just takes it because it was the 80s. In the 80s, you took it. Give me another dunk. Give me another dunk. Give me another. This episode of Bullseye last night, I actually switched over the channel and I missed the anecdotes at the beginning. What happens is at the beginning of the show, Jim gets 3 couples out and he finds out what their names are and they all get to tell their little stories. Well, I missed all that bit. But let me just set up the premise of Bullseye for you, okay? There's 3 couples. And in each couple, one player is the dart player, throws the darts at the board, and the other player is the answerer of the questions. So you've got the dart player and the answerer of the questions. And there's 3 phases of the show. In the first phase, the dart player has to throw the dart at categories on a board, and whatever category they hit, the question answerer has to answer a question on it. And then out of those 3 couples, after that first phase, 1 couple's eliminated, right? Then the remaining 2 couples, same thing again. The dart player throws darts at a normal dartboard, trying to hit the highest score. And then from that phase, you lose the couple and one couple goes to the final where they throw darts at the prize board to see what amazing 80s prizes they can win. And then after that, they get a collection of prizes and they have to decide whether to gamble those prizes they've won against the star prize. And in Bullseye, those of you who have watched Bullseye before will know the star prize is always a crappy car, a caravan, a speedboat, pretty much one of those three. A holiday, sometimes his and hers clothes, but usually car, caravan, speedboat. And the couple, who might not be related, could just be two friends from the pub, have to split the speedboat or split the car or split the caravan, probably with a chainsaw. And that's the program. That's the program. I wanted to set it up. The reason I chose this particular episode was because I switched over last night. Something happened at the very beginning of the moment where I switched over, and I just thought, holy shit, this is complete madness. Now, I've watched every episode a million times, but I didn't remember this episode, and I didn't remember this happening, so I just had to show it to you guys. And I know very few people will be interested in watching, but I don't care. That's how we roll on this channel.
Now then, come on, Betty, choose a subject for Graham.
Showbiz.
Showbiz. All right.
Right, so Hyacinth Bouquet has picked showbiz. So now, this guy here, who looks like Clark Kent Superman, has to hit showbiz.
Right, Graham.
Graham.
Here we go. Your mum wants a showbiz
His mum. So this is a mother and son combo, all right? And he has to hit showbiz.
question. It's flashing to help you.
The board, the outside of the board flashes to help him out. So he knows, even though he can read showbiz on the inside bit, it flashes on the outside bit to show him which bit to hit. Right? It's important. These sort of things. This is the 80s. Buckaroo. Here we go, right? So he hits showbiz.
There's £50 you've got before you answer the question.
Right. Now, as it stands here, you can see that the first couple, who we missed, because I didn't press record in time, have got 80 quid. Now, these questions are worth 30 quid. 50, 60, 70, 80. So that means, I had to do it on my fingers, that's terrible. So that means that the first couple, the dart player hit 50 quid on the board, and the guy answered the 30 quid question right to get him up to 80 quid. Okay? Now, Clark Kent just threw and hit 50 quid, just like the first couple. And now Hyacinth Bucket has to answer this question right for 30 quid, which will take her up to 80 quid, like the first guy. It's important. This is going to go on for a while. I know. I understand. Calm down.
Right.
Listen to this. This is what got me going.
Oh, Betty, I'm not sure about this. I'm really not sure about this. Who jumped to stardom in a leading role in Dr. No?
Right. Who jumped to stardom in a leading role in Dr. No? Now, I was watching it last night. Obviously, I'm shouting at the TV, Sean Connery. Now, Hyacinth, you'll get to see this now. This is a kind of reaction. I'm sort of jumping in here, but let me just tell you now, she doesn't know the answer. And it's getting a question like this wrong that will send you home in the first round, right? But watch, Jim Bowen fancies this woman, and it comes across quite clearly throughout the whole program. He fancies this woman. Watch. She doesn't know.
I can tell you he had a number.
Right? And at this point, I'm thinking, Jim, you don't do this to the contestants. If it was a man now, he'd say, he'd just stand there, and the guy would go, sorry, I don't know, Jim. And then Jim would go, well, it was Sean Connery. But watch, he says, he's got a number, right?
He had 3 numbers behind his name.
3 numbers behind his name. He means 007. But this woman at this point, yeah, look at her face. She's got no clue.
And it was an Irish first name, and it was Sean.
Is an Irish first name, and it's Sean. And this woman's thinking, I don't know. I haven't got a clue. I don't know what Dr. No is. I don't know what he's on about numbers. Sean.
Connery?
Is right. Well done.
Right.
Smart.
For God's sake. Sean, I don't know. The only Sean I know. Connery? Yeah, you're right. Yeah. And she looks across in embarrassment at the bloke next to her who's already got 80 quid on his board. And now she's got 80 as well, right? She's looking across to him. He looks pissed off. He looks pissed off. He had to work for his answer, I guarantee it, right? And the bloke on the right-hand side of the screen now with 0 points yet, who hasn't gone yet, he's just smiling to himself. He's just thinking, well, Jim just told her the answer because he fancies her. Is he going to do the same for me if I don't know my answer? This is outrageous. If this happened today, the internet would be in... there was no internet back then, so we're lucky. Watch. Look, see that? See that? She bit her lip. She bit her lip. Watch.
Connery?
Watch her bite her lip in embarrassment. Watch. There. Oh, I just missed it. But there. She's going, oh my God. He just told me the answer.
Give us a smile, you're all right.
Give us a smile, you're all right.
On,
I told you the answer. Steve.
Words, all right.
Steve,
on,
right.
Pete,
Steve, can your partner hit words for a start? Can he do it? He's just given the woman the answer. Right.
£30 bonus.
Right, no. For instance, right. Now. So the final couple. The dart player didn't hit the 50. He only hit the 30, right? Watch. Right. His dart's gone into the 30, not the 50 like the first two couples. So even if the guy now answers his question right, he'll only get another 30 quid because the first round... Right. So when you hit the board, look at the board here, right? This one's 30. This one's worth 50. This one's worth 100. And I think the centre is 200. And then there's 3 rounds, 30, 50 and 100 point questions, right? So in this first round, he's got 30 and now he has to answer a £30 question. So even if he gets it right, his couple together will only have 60 quid. So he's already losing against the woman that Jim Bowen just gave the answer to.
£30 bonus you've got, and here's your question on
Watch why I was going... And this is normal in Bullseye.
Think about this one, Steve.
This is normal.
What do actions speak?
Right.
Louder than words.
Luckily, the question was easy.
Absolutely right.
Luckily.
£60.
As Sean Connery was, to be
With
fair.
£80, Betty and Graham with £80, Steve and Pete with £60.
Right. So Steve and Pete are currently losing.
This time the questions are worth £50
right.
each.
But bear in mind, Hyacinth and Superman would have only had 50 quid now because they would have got the 30 quid question wrong. So it should be 80, 50, 60. Hyacinth should currently be losing. Honestly.
A little bit more difficult, and of course we've got less categories. Let's look at what remains.
The doled out areas of the board show which categories we've lost. We've lost sport, showbiz and words. It's not important, you know, but it just gives you a flavour of what I watch every single day. Okay? Okay?
Food, places, affairs, that's current affairs.
I love that. Right? Jim Bowen, he's proper old school. He's not, like I said to you, he's not a standard TV presenter, right? So as he's going around explaining the board, he says we've got food, places, affairs, that's current affairs. What he means there, this question isn't about whether your neighbour's screwing the milkman. It's current affairs. And if it had said current affairs, he would have said, you've got food, places, current affairs. That's not currents as in sultanas and raisins and things. It means current as in now. History. And he's probably going to go around the whole board now.
Great Britain and spelling.
Right, he does.
Right, come on, John. Subject for your partner.
Back to the first guy now, right?
Right.
So this guy has to hit spelling.
Delta.
And he wants to hit as close to the centre as he can.
No problem.
And he does.
£100 bonus you've got.
100 quid.
Excellent.
So we're now on 180 quid, right?
Marvellous. I think you could well do this as well.
And Jim thinks, because Jim likes to look at the card and analyse and assess and tell the person to their face whether he thinks they're clever enough to do the question or not. So he looks at it and thinks, oh, I think you could. You've got a face, the moustache and everything. You've got a face that says you might be able to do this.
To be stealthy or secretive is to be surreptitious.
Now, I've got to say, last night when this came on the telly and it was surreptitious, I looked across at the person I was with and went, oh, bloody hell, surreptitious. I'm usually pretty good at spelling. I'm not sure how I would have gone with this one, but this is how this guy goes.
Can you spell surreptitious?
S-U-R.
I mean, he can't.
E-P-T-I-T-I-O-U-S.
What a pity.
What a pity.
1 hour short. You know where the R was missing, don't you?
Right. So Jim Bowen goes, oh, what a pity. What a pity. Notice he didn't help him. If it had been Hyacinth Bucket, he'd have gone, now, just a hint, love. Just a hint, love. Just a hint, love. It's S-U-R-R. 2 R's. Just a hint. This guy, he says, oh, what a pity. But you know where the 2 R's are, don't you? And this bloke, like this bloke's face right now, look at that face, right? Watch this again. This is the face of someone who's saying, I ain't got a bloody clue, Jim. If I had known, I would have told you in the first place to get the question right.
You know where the R was missing, don't you? It's SURREPTITIOUS. Never mind, your dart playing partner did well, you've £180. Let's move on, Betty.
Right.
Choose a subject.
Betty Hyacinth now.
Food. Right, Graham?
She wants food, so Superman has to hit food.
Flashing to help you.
It's flashing to help him. And he hits it, 50 quid.
£50 bonus you've got. Well done.
Now, if she gets this right, she gets 50 quid and she goes up to 180.
£50 question on food. You will get this, Betty, just relax.
Right. Now, when Jim Bowen looks at the woman he fancies and says, you will get this, Betty. If I could wink now, I would. You will get this, Betty. Just relax. Remember what happened in the first round? Don't worry about it, love. Just relax. I'm going to tell you the answer. Don't worry about it.
What's the meat used to make Wiener Schnitzel?
Right. What's the meat used to make Wiener Schnitzel? Right. I've got to say, last night, this is showing myself up here, but my answer to this was shrugging my shoulders. But Hyacinth here, watch. She makes a face like she doesn't know, but luckily for Jim, so he doesn't have to make an arse out of himself again. Watch. She knows this one.
The meat is right. Good girl. Well done.
Good girl. Good girl. Bearing in mind, this is my favourite quiz show and I love Jim Bowen. So this is all in good nature. Good girl. Holy shit.
Good girl.
Good girl.
Come on then, Steve. What do you think for Pete?
Affairs, please.
Right. Affairs. This isn't Screwing the Milkman. This is current affairs. Remember that.
Yes. Current affairs we're looking
Current
for.
affairs.
Pete?
I just couldn't fit the word current on the board. He's going to hit it. Come on. No.
Is
Yes.
there
Yes.
£50 bonus
50
you've
quid.
got? And here we go. Your £50 question on affairs. Yes, fine.
Now, and even if he gets the 50 quid question right, he will only be at 160, which puts him behind the other two contestants, right? Now, the problem here is that Hyacinth in the middle there didn't know Sean Connery, so she should currently be on 150. And if he gets this one right and goes up to 160, then she's losing. But Jim told her the answer.
How old is Her Majesty the Queen?
51.
So his answer is 51. Now, let's just see what the answer is, because he's wrong, because I watched it last night and I know he's wrong.
Not right. Very, very close. Audience? 50.
Did you hear that? He goes, audience, and the audience shout out, 55! Listen to that again. I know, it's these little things. I can dwell on one episode of Bullseye. Bear in mind that this is the 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 5th time I've watched this episode. This is classic. This is like Citizen Kane or Raging Bull.
He's not right. Very, very close. Audience?
55! And Jim goes, yeah, that's right, 56.
56 on April 21st this year.
Right, 56, right? The Queen currently, hold on, is currently 93. Just to give you an idea, right? The Queen is currently 93 years old.
Right, at the end of that round gives us the scores. John and Mickey with £180, Betty and Graham with £180.
180,
Stephen
180,
with 110. So
110.
it's all to play for as we go to round 3.
And I focused in on her there because she looks guilty, because she is winning and she shouldn't be. Now, let's be fair here. So it should be 180, 150 and 110. So Hyacinth would actually be in second place, or now anyway, all right? But I still say there's an element of unfairness going on here. But let's carry on.
Betty and Graham with £180. Steve and Pete with 110. So it's all to play for as we go to round 3. This time, the questions are worth £100 each.
This is the big money now.
But we have lost a few more categories.
Now, the points in Bullseye are equivalent to pounds. So if you win £100, 100 points, you go home with £100. Just make that clear. This was big money.
And they're that bit more difficult. Let's look at what we've got left on the board.
Right.
We've got places,
history,
books,
books,
and Britain.
As
we look at John to choose a subject for Mickey.
Come on, John.
History, please.
History.
John goes for history.
Okay. Flashing for you there.
It's letting him know where history is. in case you can't see. And he hits
£50
it.
bonus you've got.
He gets a
And
50.
here's your £100 question on history.
So now we're on to £100 questions.
We'll do this, John, because you did say you read a lot. Which American...
Just to put him on the spot, he says, John, you will do this. Because remember earlier, we missed it. It must have been one of the anecdotes. Remember earlier, you told us you read books, you read a lot. You will do this. If you don't do this, you're going to embarrass yourself in front of your family, your friends, and people, even in generations to come, who might watch this again and put it onto YouTube, which doesn't even exist yet because the internet doesn't exist yet.
coined the phrase, the four freedoms?
Which American coined the phrase, the four freedoms?
In 1941, he said
In 1941.
it.
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
It's not. I did.
And the crowd go, ooh, Abraham Lincoln in 1941. Now Jim rubs it in. Watch Jim rub it in now. Watch, listen, listen.
It's not. I did say the year for you as well to help you. Sorry about that.
I did say the year as well to help you. Sorry about that. It's obviously not Abraham Lincoln. I just bigged you up and said you read a lot.
It was F.D. Roosevelt. I did say 1941. You didn't get. Never mind.
I did say, mate, I did say 1941. You didn't get it, did you? F***ing idiot. That's what Jim Bowen just did to that bloke's face then.
You're still all right. You're still well.
You're still all right. You're still all right. Apart from if I help Hyacinth with her question.
In with a chance for the next round. Betty, choose a subject for Graham.
Places.
Places.
Now,
Okay,
Betty
Graham,
wants
in
places.
you come. It's flashing to help you.
It's flashing
Take
to
your
help
time
him.
to get your bonuses.
Take his time. Superman,
£50 bonus you've got.
he's got it
Well
solidly.
done. Little bit of
50
pressure now.
places for
Little bit of
50.
pressure now, isn't there? Never mind.
Never mind.
Which ducal residence
Which
in
fecal
Derbyshire
residence in Derbyshire?
is known as the Palace of the Peak?
Now, this made my jaw drop again, right? Which ducal palace in Derbyshire? Let's listen to that again.
Never mind. Which ducal residence in Derbyshire is known as the Palace of the Peak?
Which ducal residence in Derbyshire is known as the Palace of the Peak? Now, I didn't have a clue. I'll admit it. And I'll tell you now that Mrs. Bucket here doesn't have a clue either. But watch what Jim does now. Listen, rather.
And it's something house. It's
She doesn't know. And he's going, and it's something house. Something house. House. It's almost like he's going to go, begins with a C, changes.
something house. I can tell you
Something
that.
house. I can tell you that.
It's
And she goes, Derbyshire House. And he's like, I was trying to tell you that. In fact, if you held on a few minutes, love, a few more seconds, love, I would have said,
sadly, you'll kick yourself when I tell you, Chatsworth House. Never mind. We move on with £110 so far. Steve, choose a subject for Pete. Britain, boys.
So-
Britain. All right. Great Britain, as we're now pleased to say we are.
We're nearing the end of phase one. And Jim Bowen has
You got
quite
your
clearly
£30 bonus.
been trying to
Well
help
done.
the centre couple.
Which famous potter is associated with the creation of the Etruria works near Burslem?
I must admit, I shrugged my shoulders.
Wedgwood.
This
Is
guy
right
guesses
for
Wedgwood.
£100.
Now, look at the scores.
Well done. Gives the scores, John and
This is the bit, right? Now, this bloke with that guess of Wedgwood at the very end for 100 quid has just won the first phase of Bullseye. But these two couples here are on 230. Now, remember? She shouldn't have that 30 quid because Jim gave her the answer of Sean Connery. So she should have 200 quid. Therefore, she should be going home with 200 quid. Now, not to give anything away, but guess who might win the whole thing at the end? Anyway, to see who goes through, these two people here, their partners, have to throw again, right? So you can get nearest to the centre of the board.
30, Betty and Graham with 230, and Stephen.
And
Pete
everyone
came
at
right
home
back
at this
from the
point
dead
should be
there.
thinking,
£240.
we really
So this
want
is what
Betty
we're
to
doing
go home
lose
because this is
one of
unfair.
the two couples with £230.
Very
That's the two dot
unfair.
players to come up to the hockey here, and we take. It's a sudden death. nearest to the
Sunday.
bull
Nearest to the bull goes through to the next round.
All right. So
All right.
it's John up to the
So it's
hockey
John
first, please.
up to the hockey first, please.
I'm awfully sorry. Mickey to the hockey.
I'm awfully sorry.
Mickey to the hockey.
Mickey to the
One
hockey.
dart,
Mickey
near
to the
the ball
hockey.
as you can
Mickey
go.
to the hockey. I get the feeling, right? I reckon that Mickey to the hockey would be a brilliant name for an album. Mickey to the hockey. How the hell did you... Mercurial number 6. How the hell did you come up with the album title, Mickey to the hockey? Well, it sounds like a Chinese yogurt, but it's not.
That's fine. It's in the first ring out.
For no reason at all, they use this silly board. They only used this board in the first couple of series of Bullseye in the very early 80s. But there's no reason why they couldn't use a normal dartboard and seen who got to the closest to the centre. But they wanted to use this weird kind of Wicker Man board. You can just imagine, if you can imagine this board, this bloke in this jumper throwing at this board, but lots of naked girls dancing around this podium with flowers in their hair. That's what Bullseye is all about. It's about nakedness and cider drinking.
Come with me, Mickey. Come on, Graham. When you're ready, old son.
Come on, Superman.
Get nearer to the bull than Mickey.
So Superman now has to throw nearer than Mickey.
And he's done it.
And he
really
does.
has
Now,
done it.
I had to have a close look at that last night. I was like, oh, I don't know. That looks very, very, very similar to me. But no, it is. It is.
So
He does win.
we're going to say true love to John and Mickey. Come on into the guest here.
Now, Betty and Superman, mother and son, have now got through to phase 2. Because...
And the pen there. And you've 200...
Because Jim gave her the answer of Sean Connery. Now, he's handed them their pen. So you win a pen in Bullseye. He's handed them the pen. And he's now got to count out their £230, right? And he does it. He counts the money out. And 230 quid was a lot back then. 230 quid. So this is the equivalent today of £805, all right? And now Jim's going to count it out in real time.
£30. Now these are in tens.
In tens.
I think there's...
This is really happening.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
This is really happening.
No, you trust me, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
This is really happening.
7, 8.
This was television on a Sunday afternoon in 1982.
Do you realise the first round people are going at 200, 10, 20, 30 pounds? Has it been worth you coming?
Certainly has, yeah.
And it's been lovely having you because you've been two right grand lads.
Now, remember this. So they're leaving. Wrongly, because they shouldn't be leaving, but they're leaving in round 1 with 230 quid, which is the equivalent today of £805, English pounds.
Put that in your pockets. Have that courtesy of Central. Put it away. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Give them a nice round of applause.
Brilliant.
So, 3 couples tonight are going to have a super Christmas, aren't we? We've still got 2 left.
Yeah, this is almost the Christmas episode. You get the vibe here. It's not the Christmas episode, but it must be like the week before Christmas because they've got no Christmas decorations up. And later on in the programme, he says, this is almost the Christmas episode because he's not smooth or slick, but he is the greatest, bar Victoria Coren Mitchell, the greatest quiz show host of all time.
And here in the next part of the game, we use a traditional match play dartboard.
So now...
Just to remind you what goes on here.
Now we're moving to a normal dartboard, right?
We ask the 2 remaining dart players to
Jim
compete
can
in 3
explain.
rounds of darts against each other. The highest scorer in each round wins for his partner a question.
Right.
And the value of that question is the winning score.
Right, that makes sense, doesn't it? So they throw 3 darts at the dartboard, and the value they get, the person with out of the 2 couples, the person with the highest score gets to answer the question, and if they answer the question right, they get the money of the score. Right? So you know, this isn't rocket science. It's not brain surgery. It's not rocket science. It's not really even like a rudimentary, is it? This isn't even like noughts and crosses, tic-tac-toe.
Now then, boys, it's pounds for points.
It's pounds for points.
Graham, up to the hockey. As many as you can for a question for your partner. Come stand with me, Pete. It's over to Tony.
So we
First round, Graham to throw.
So Superman's throwing, right?
Single 5.
Single 5.
It's treble 20.
Treble 20. Now, I don't know how much you know your darts, but treble 20 is the top score you can get on a dartboard with 1 dart. 60, right? And just as I paused it then, he's hit another treble 20. So that's 60, 60. So that's 125 he's just got. That's a good score in Bullseye. If you get 125 in Bullseye, the crowd goes absolutely ballistic. like they've witnessed something spectacular, like the discovery of a new continent. Incontinence.
And another treble 20, that's 125.
Right, now, the second guy, he's looking cool, he's got his shirt slightly undone, but he's a bit worried now. He's actually gave a smile. He gave a smile that says, I'm not going to beat 125. In fact, I might try to hit a 1.
Single 5.
Single 5.
Single 20.
20.
And another 5.
And a 5.
That's 30 scored. First round to Graham.
Right, first round to
Here's
Graham.
a question for Betty, worth £125.
Now, let's see. Right, so this question now, bearing in mind the top value in the last round was 100, this single question alone is worth 125 quid. And remember, Jim fancies Betty Hyacinth, right? He fancies her. She's going to win, all right? Watch.
Decoration OM is limited to 24 eminent men and women. What do the initials OM stand for?
Order of merit?
Is right for
She knew
£125. Well done.
She knew that.
355 plays 2 4, so we're moving to round 2. Over to 2.
Now, the second couple now are
Once
thinking,
again, Graham throwing.
this ain't looking good. But remember,
Single
Betty's
5.
not supposed to be here.
Single 20.
She should be out in the first round.
Another 20, that's 45 for Graham.
Not so good in the second round. Now, this guy is now thinking, well, this is all right.
45 to beat.
I can probably beat 45, as long as I don't hit a 1.
Single 18.
18,
Another 18.
18.
And a 16, that's 54.
Done it!
Second round to beat.
Okay, question
3
for
wayward
Steve,
darts.
And this is worth £54.
It's only
Steve.
worth 54
Which
quid.
very large member of the bird family is unique in having only 2 toes?
Now, this is an obvious answer, right? But let's bear in mind, last night, I was thinking, oh, vulture. Yeah, vulture with 2 toes. If a vulture had 2 toes and he was like sitting on a branch, how's he gonna like if his 2 toes go like that way across the branch, he's just gonna like. And as I'm thinking all this stuff, the person next to me just goes, "It's an ostrich, isn't it?" And I'm like, "Oh Christ, it's a fucking ostrich." Think of that.
Heron?
But that guy says heron. Can you imagine a heron with 2 toes?
It's not, so we can offer it to Betty, and it's worth
Made me feel a little bit
£45
better.
to Betty if you can tell us which very large member of the bird family is unique in having only 2 toes.
The ostrich?
The ostrich is right.
Bloody Betty,
£45.
who shouldn't even be there, gets his 45 quid.
£240. Over to Tony for round 3.
She's just
Final
flying.
round.
Like an ostrich can't.
Graham to throw.
So Graham's going
Single
for it.
5.
He's got a 5.
Single
5.
5. And that's treble 20.
Treble 20.
That's 70 for Graham.
So he saved it. 70's a good score. 70 in darts is a hard score to beat.
And Pete moving to the hockey.
I don't think
70 to
Pete's
beat.
going to beat 70.
Single 5.
5.
Single 9.
Single 9.
And single
20.
20. That's 34. Third
So,
round to Graham.
yet again,
Betty, here's
Betty.
your question. It's worth another £70.
who Jim Bowen wants to win.
Part of which English county is known as the Dukeries because it contains so many stately homes? The Dukeries. Which county?
Bedfordshire.
Now, she said Bedfordshire, right? Now, bearing in mind, I was shouting at the telly, Essex! Sussex! Essex! No, Sussex! Essex!
It's not. It was a
wasn't
very
Essex
intelligent
or
guess,
Sussex.
actually.
Did you hear that, right? So she gets it wrong, right? If I had said, Jim, Essex, he wouldn't have said to me, oh, no, it's not Mercurial number 6, but very, very intelligent guess. Because he wouldn't fancy me, but he fancies Betty. Watch it again. Watch how much he embraces the fact she got it wrong. Watch.
The homes. The
Watch.
Dukeries. Which county?
Oh, Betty.
Bedfordshire.
Betty.
It's not. It was a very intelligent guess, actually.
That was a very intelligent guess. That was a very intelligent guess, actually.
Now then, come on, Steve. For £34.
Come on, Steve.
The Dukeries. In Sussex.
You've lost
It's
anyway.
not, and I know why you're thinking that, because of the royal family being in it. It's in fact Nottinghamshire.
I don't think anyone would have said, unless you live in Nottinghamshire, I don't think you'd have said Nottinghamshire for that.
Never mind, at the end of that round, Betty and Graham have £400, but we've got to lose Stephen.
Right. Now, Betty's won, even though she shouldn't be there. So
They've
we've
done
now got
very
to
well,
leave.
£240.
We've got to
Come on,
lose
boys.
Stephen Pete.
Well done, lads.
Well done, lads.
Yeah,
I
you
helped
were
Betty
superb.
because I fancied
You've got
her.
here 2 bullseye tankers,
You know I
which
did.
are all engraved. You've got the
You're going
darts
to
and
go
the
home
pen,
and watch
and
this back on
£240.
television.
So it's been worth you coming, hasn't it?
And
Spend
you're
a few
going
bob there
to...
at Christmas, won't you? Make a fuss of the family.
This is
see you in a
interesting
couple of
for
throws.
later.
Well done.
For later,
You've
this is
got here
interesting,
2
right?
bullseye tankers, which are all engraved. You've got the darts and the pen.
They get darts and a pen. It's important. Forget your prizes these days, what you get. Back in those days, you got darts and a pen. And you got, in their tumbler there, engraved, they have, wait for it,
And £240.
£240, which is going to be a bit more than 805. Hang on. 240 is 840 quid, right? That's what they've got.
So it's been worth you coming, hasn't it? You'll spend a few bob there at Christmas, won't you? Make a fuss of the family. We'll see.
Now you have to question, I always say this, if you had to like travel to wherever this is filmed, it was central television, so somewhere in the middle of the country, but just say these days you had to travel to London to take part in a quiz show and you came away with 800 quid, you'd be like, oh Christ, was that even worth it? I don't get out of bed for 800 quid for a quiz show.
See you in a couple of throws. Well done.
So now we've got the advert, right? Now, even the fact that Bully is being served by a buxom barmaid, that bit there would be frowned upon today. But this was the 80s. This was the 80s, all right? So now we're going to... I think most of my viewers will have left by now, but if you haven't, stick around for part 2. And we're back in the room.
Welcome back to part 2 of this special
back.
Bullseye. Now then, we're going to bring on stage probably the most famous figure in darts at the moment.
I think it's a special Bullseye because it's the almost Christmas edition of Bullseye. It's amazing. We've got an almost Christmas edition of Bullseye. And at this point, I spoke over it then, at this point, Jim Bowen's going to bring on, what happens is in Bullseye, just to separate like Act 1 from Act 2, we have, whereas we've been watching amateurs throwing at the dartboard, we're going to get, this is the point in the show, we have a professional dart player come on, and their task is to get 301 or more with 9 darts. If they get 301 or more with 9 darts, Jim will double that score and give that money to charity. If they get below 301, the money still goes to charity, but they don't double it. So if you get like 100, then that money will go to charity. So like charity will get like 300 quid or whatever. It's good. I mean, it would be frowned upon now because I think it would cost more to send 300 quid to a charity than it would to just eat £300. I'm not sure. But at this point in this program, Jim introduces certainly when you think about the top darts players in the world of all time, Phil the Power Taylor, Eric Bristow, this guy who's about to come on is up there, right? But watch what happens, right? This guy, I'll tell you now. I might as well tell you now, right? Might as well tell you now. He walks on with a fag in his hand, with a cigarette in his hand. Watch this.
Bullseye. Now then, we're going to bring on stage probably the
Fag
most
in hand.
famous figure in darts at the moment. Please welcome all the way from Scotland, Chucky Wilson.
It's Jockey Wilson, genuinely famous darts player. But watch, the person I was with, right? I didn't notice that he had a cigarette in his hand. The person I was with when I was watching this last night said, "Can you believe he's got a cigarette in his hand as he's playing darts?" Watch. One of the most famous darts players ever.
Nice to see you again, Jim.
Tell us about the...
I think he might be pissed, but I wouldn't want to cast aspersions.
I've had a great year, Jim.
I had a great year, Jim.
I mean, I won the British Professional at the tail end of last year.
So at this point in time, this guy is the greatest darts player in the world. Just remember that.
I won the British Open in January,
Yeah.
then I won the World Professional. What more can I ask?
Well, I mean,
The only thing
He's won every competition there is in 1982.
I can ask for is to be number 1. I'm number 2 at the moment, but
Okay, so he's number 2, but he's won everything and he's number 2. So he's the equivalent of like Nadal or what's the name of the Swedish guy, tennis player? Very good. I've forgotten his name. Good looking bloke.
I'm not
Well,
complaining
you're
about
working
that.
hard at it anyway. We'd like you to give a nice one round of applause to Jock as he throws some
Watch.
charity tonight.
In
Jock,
this hand here where he's holding the darts, watch. In this hand here where he's holding the darts, that's a cigarette. It's a lit cigarette with smoke coming out of it. He's playing darts. He couldn't even come on without a cigarette.
Single five.
Single five.
It's treble seven.
Treble seven.
45 score.
Right, let's just say now, right? Jockey Wilson just got 45. Even I could get 45. I mean, it's like I was saying, oh, my mum could do that. Whatever happens in life, my mum could do that.
Still 6 down.
Let's face it, if we had a dartboard here now and I did throw at the dartboard, I probably wouldn't get 45, would I? I'd hit 3 ones if we were filming it. And you'd all go, oh, no, cue number 6.
Jockey locked today.
Got a cigarette in his hand.
Single 20.
20,
At the
20.
And that's a
And
treble.
he gets a
20,
treble.
100.
So he does redeem himself a little bit there. But it's looking very much like
145.
the charity are not going to get very much money. 20, 20,
And that's
20.
number 20. That's 205.
205 with 9 darts from the greatest darts player in the world.
Always nice to have you on the
So
show.
now,
We'd
I
like
mean,
to
this is
bring
very
the
good. I'm not
company
mocking.
chosen
I don't mean to sort of sound like nasty here. This is perfectly fine. But the charity now gets 205 quid. 205 quid. So the charity gets the equivalent today of £717 and 51 pence, which is good. It's better than the charity getting nothing.
Tell Jockey about the charity tonight, you two, because we know it's
But
something particularly
I mean, he has to shake the hands with his right hand because he's got a cigarette in his left hand.
Brain scanner machine.
Right. So the money really is going to a worthy cause. I'm sure you'd like to thank this gentleman who's got
And it goes to
£205.
Look at him.
He's a lovely fella, he really is. Jockey Wilson.
That's
privileged to have
a
you on the
shame
show.
because what happened then was Jim was a little bit embarrassed. Jockey Wilson only gave 205 quid to the brain scanner. And he's like, well, honestly, he is a really nice guy. I mean, he's walked in here pissed. He's walked in here drunk and he's got a cigarette in his hand and he wasn't taking it completely seriously. But he's a really nice guy.
Ladies and gentlemen, Warren Allen.
Still, it's Jockey Wilson. Right. Now, this is phase 3 of the game.
You never thought you'd get to this stage, did you?
Right. Listen to what he says to Betty there. This is unbelievable. Watch.
Now then, it's all downhill now for you, isn't it? You never thought you'd get to this stage, did you?
You never thought you'd get to this stage, did you, little lady? But I helped you through, didn't I? Remember I told you the answer to that first question? Do you remember that? Do you remember? That's the reason you're here now.
Really didn't. It's lovely to have you here.
I mean, you can talk about conspiracy theories. You can talk about fixes. This was a match fix. Absolutely no doubt this was a match fix.
Now then, Bullseye Star Prize Board. You'll never forget it for the rest of your lives.
This is phase 3. It's a different board again. And this is the board where they throw 9 darts and there's 9 prizes. And Superman goes first, throws 3 darts at the prize board. Then Hyacinth gets to throw 3 darts at the prize board. And then Superman gets to throw another 3 darts at the prize board. And the top amount of prizes they can get is 9. Now, the thing here is, and Bullseye, I've watched hundreds of episodes, and the prizes available on the prize board are the reason to watch Bullseye. They are hysterical. Now, this isn't the worst set of prizes they've ever had. However, I thought it was noteworthy because of a couple of the prizes are so 80s and so not now. Watch.
Come and have a look at it now. I'll explain to you what to do, but as I said
So
to you,
Jim
you're
takes
all
them over to the
over, so
board.
come look at this.
So there you go. They've all got
It's a test
numbers.
of memory as well as...
And anyone who watches Bullseye will remember the prizes being announced, and it will go in 1, a nest of tables, a nest of coffee tables. In 2, a plastic novelty spider. In 3, this is before that. In 1, this is just very, very matter of fact. But still, listen to the
Just
prizes.
refresh your memories. It's black segments and red segments, and in every red segment, we've got some super...
So you've got to hit the red segments for the prizes. If you hit a black segment, you don't get a prize. If you hit a red segment, this is important. Right? Very rarely happens this bit. If you hit a red segment and get a prize, and then you let Betty throw at the dartboard and she hits the same red segment, you lose the prize. All right? No danger of that here. when you see how Betty throws.
Super prizes.
In one, a
Here we
cut
go.
glass brandy decanter and matching glasses.
Right. You always get a cut glass brandy decanter and matching glasses every episode, right?
On a gallery tray. In two, for the festive season, a hamper full of...
Because for the festive season, a hamper. Almost said for the festive Caesar there. Can you imagine Julius Caesar with a red Rudolph nose and some tinsel around his shoulders? Oh, it's the festive Caesar. This is the almost Christmas episode.
Christmas fair. In three, a 14-inch colour portable TV set with its own aerial.
Right. Last night I was like, you got to be kidding me. A little portable colour TV set. This is back in the days when you had to make sure you said it was colour, because even back then, I had a black and white TV. The interesting thing about this TV is it comes with its own aerial. It comes with its own aerial. It's important.
In four, a lady's 9-carat gold necklace. In five, for the children, a traditional wooden rocking horse. In six, a gentleman's sheepskin
A Del Boy sheepskin coat. Fine.
car coat. In seven, a traditional 25-piece old country roses dinner service. In eight, 20...
Right. In eight, a pack of cigars.
25 of the finest Havana cigars.
25 of the finest Havana cigars. This is the 80s. But wait till you hear what Bully's special prize is, which is the prize you get for hitting the bullseye. Wait till you hear. I was like, this is the 80s.
And Bully's special prize this week, what every woman dreams of, a full-length Scandinavian mink coat.
Right? A full-length Scandinavian mink coat. And you can hear the audience going, woo! This was a big deal in the 80s. Fur was a big deal in the 80s. Watch. Betty looks excited.
9 great prizes. We're giving you 9 darts, 6 for Graham and 3 for Betty.
Right. Betty really wants that mink coat. If Betty gets that mink coat, her life is woo! Now, hitting the bullseye in Bullseye is tough. It's tough. So Betty hasn't got a great chance of this mink coat. However, we are dealing with Superman here.
Try and remember the prizes. Little rhyme, keep out of the black and in the red. You get nothing at all for 2 in a bed.
So this rhyme became, he honed it during the subsequent 30, 40, 50 series of this programme. Keep out of the black and in the red. There's nothing in this game for 2 in a bed.
If you hit a red, keep out of it. And don't forget Bully's Star Prize on this special show. All right.
It's not Bully's Star Prize. This is Bully's Special Prize. It's different. Jim got that wrong. Superman throws. First dart! First dart, the bullseye. Right, first dart, the bullseye. And they got the mink coat. Now, Jim is basically having an orgasm here. But look how happy Betty is. Look. They are just, oh my God. They're so happy they've got that bloody mink coat. Now we go through.
That's right, it's number 7.
Now, Superman can play darts. There's no doubt about this.
Red again, number 2.
That's the Christmas hamper. So what a marvellous start. 3 on 3. In you go.
3 on 3. Now, this is Betty. Now, Betty doesn't play darts.
Betty with 3 darts.
She's the non-dart player, all right?
She doesn't have to hit that ball.
All right.
No comment.
Red number 4.
But she hit right
Ladies
fair
gold
play to her.
necklace.
What I would say here, right, is that I'll tell you what the next round is, right? They get the prizes, and then whatever prizes you get in Bullseye, like I told you at the beginning, you get to gamble those prizes on a final gamble board, which is a dart board. And the final round is 101 or more. Listen to that again. 101 or more with 6 darts. The non-dart player throws first. So Betty, if they went for it, Betty would throw 3 darts and Superman would throw 3 darts. And in those 6 darts, they've got to score 101 or more. But as you just saw, Betty has trouble hitting the board. So imagine whether they're going to gamble or not.
Oh, unlucky. It's in the black.
Okay, great. In you go. Don't worry, I'll do that for you because it's Christmas.
To take the darts.
Here we go. Superman again now.
3 more darts. It's Graham throwing them.
Graham's throwing.
That's red number
Gets
3.
another
Well, that's
prize
the portable colour television.
with its own aerial. With its own aerial. Let's not forget the only aerial, its own aerial.
Red again.
Red again, number 5.
That's the rocking horse for the family.
He's got the
Marvellous
children's
prize, that's
rocking
for the
horse that just perpetually rocks like a self-perpetuating machine.
Red again.
And red again, number 6. Now, basically, he's got the mink
kids. Look
coat,
at what you've won.
and Jim is
You
just
have
in
won
ecstasy
The
over
Christmas
this.
hamper, the portable colour
Look, you
television.
can't, there is someone on the right hand side of
Necklace,
this
the rocking
screen now
horse,
rocking
the
this
gent
damn
sheepskin
horse.
coat,
What
the
do you do
dinner
for a
set.
living? What do you do for a living? Because everyone's judging what they do for a living. What do you do for a living? Well, I rock the horse on Bullseye. That Garrett, someone must have been. What do you? Excuse me, sir. What do you do for a living? I stopped you in the street. Excuse me, sir. What do you do for a living? Well, I rock the horse. I rock the horse on Bullseye.
And Bully's star prize, a super full-length mink coat.
Bully's special prize. Now they have to decide whether they want to gamble all of that for Bully's star prize, which is hidden behind the bully at the back.
She's turning out to be. Now we'd like you to consider a gamble. Right? Gamble those few prizes you've won there. Not a lot there, is there? A couple of prizes. You can gamble those for tonight's star prize, which is hiding behind Bully.
So he was getting it all wrong. They got the special prize. This is the star prize. Now, this is the point where they ask the audience, and the board turns now back to the normal dartboard with a nice and he says to the audience, "What do you think, audience?" And the audience says, "Gamble! Gamble!" But this one's different because Jim is basically, look at his eyes. He's looking up, but look at that. He's looking at Bertie and he's saying, "Don't gamble. You can't even hit the board, love, and you've got your mink fur coat."
All we want you to do is score 101 or more with 6 darts. 3 for Betty.
He knows they're not
and
going to
3
do
for
it.
Graham, and you've got the
So
time
he's-
it takes that board to revolve to tell us what
and
you
to be
want
fair,
to do.
Superman's
now, I know it's a
thinking,
big decision. This you're going to have to think
Betty
a long
can't
time
hit the
about this,
board.
whether you gamble or not.
So we're not doing this. Betty's,
What are you
look,
gonna
they're
do?
laughing.
Take a look.
There's going to be no.
You think you're going to take what you've got, and
Right.
you have won, in fact, all those prizes there.
So we're taking what they've got.
£400 in
Now.
cash, the £205 jockey.
At this point, if the winning couple don't gamble, you bring back the losing couple. So the people who went second in the game, they come back and they get to hand over their money because they're not gambling for prizes, they're gambling for money. They get to hand over their 800 quid, today's money, 230 back then, and gamble. And like, you've travelled to the studio, you're on telly, you've got 230 quid in your hand, you're going to gamble, aren't you? For the car, the speedboat, the caravan, aren't you? You'd think.
One for you for the brain scanner, which we're delighted about. A lovely couple, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
As they go off with that wealth of prizes, give them a
Yeah,
nice
you got them
roar.
that, didn't you, Jim? Because you fixed it, Jim. Jim fixed it. It's almost a different programme there. Don't worry, Jim will fix it.
Well, dear me, that was tremendous, wasn't it? So we bring
It
back
was.
now the couple who came second. And we bring back Steve and Peter and ask
So
them
Steve
about
and Peter come back now. Now, ordinarily, Steve and Peter are going to gamble.
What do we do?
And they can't believe they're back.
£240 in your
And they're gonna
hand.
gamble.
We gamble that £240 for tonight's star prize. Hiding behind Bully.
Only 240
101 or more.
quid.
3 darts apiece. What do you think?
We're quite happy with what we've got.
Nah, we're quite happy, Jim.
They're quite happy with
No,
what they got. So
I can't
they're
believe
not
you.
gambling.
I
Give
can't
them a
believe you
round of
dragged
applause
us
if
back
you
on
want.
onto the show. We were on our way home. What the hell's going on? Now the couple who went from the very beginning.
So we move on and we move to the first
Get
couple
to come
who
back.
left us about 25 minutes ago, John and Mickey, and asked them if they want
Now,
to gamble. Bring them
The
back.
dream here would be if the couple that should never have gone home in the first place, remember, because Jim fixed
You know
it,
the score.
come back,
Big decision.
hand their money across,
I think
gamble,
you're probably
and
right.
win.
Ladies and gentlemen, they're going to go
Right.
for the gamble. £230. Have you got
And
the
I've got to
money?
admit,
Yes,
I
hang on
watch
a minute,
Bullseye
hang on a minute.
probably 2
No, we do
episodes
this
a day.
properly. No, I
And
trust
when
you. You trusted me earlier
at
on.
the end,
I know
when
there's a
something
tennis
like this
show and I counted
happens,
it out.
and there has been the odd occasion where everyone's refused to gamble, and the program's just had to end, and Jim's just looked at the camera and went,
101 or more. And we really are
Anyway,
rooting for you on this.
this couple
Christmas,
are
well,
gambling.
nearly Christmas
This
special.
guy here doesn't play darts. He doesn't play
Johnson
darts.
through the first 3 darts, needing 1 or
Here we go.
or more.
For 101 or more.
5.
5,
Single 20.
20, 25.
Well, that's out the board. That's 25. Score
25.
leaving 76.
Leaves 76. Now, being on the spot, needing 76, you're going to... This is difficult.
Single 20. That's
treble
treble
one. He needs a treble
okay.
20, right? Watch how close he was!
So near, yet
Look how
so
close he
far,
was!
but that's the gamble.
Look how
Never
close
mind.
he
Come and
was!
have a look here, lads. You were very close. Come and have a look at what it would have
And
been.
this is in Bullseye. If you lose, Jim Bowen says, "Yeah, that's brilliant. Come and look at what you could have won, right?" And he walks them over to the prize that they haven't won and makes them stand next to it. It's brilliant. It's like the ultimate horrible ending. It's like a horror show.
Never mind, it's been a super show, really. Thanks very
Look at him in the
much.
background, looking
Thanks
into
for
that
your
car.
opinion, Jockey Wilson.
And they're going, "Oh,
So
look,
great.
this is the car we could have
Well,
won."
what can you say? Watch us next week, because the day wouldn't be the
And the
same
darts
without
player's
the
looking at his
Bullseye.
mate there, just
God
going,
bless.
"Jesus, all you had to do is hit the damn board! God!" Single 5, single 20, nothing. Leaving me 70 odd. There you go. That's Bullseye. That's as representative episode as anything. There were some episodes where the caravans won, and they got to split it between two friends from the pub. There were lots of things that happen in various episodes. We had the episode, like I say, some of the anecdotes that Jim says are unbelievable. It's sexist. It's it's got everything. It's just lovely because it's not politically correct. And I'm not saying I'm completely against political correctness. There's a reason why people should behave in a fair and appropriate, embracing manner to their fellow man. But also there is a place for a dart player just having a smoke and throwing like that and winning a cigar. That's the 80s. It's the 80s. And it's still on telly now. You can have all the gloss and the sheen, but it's all still out there. Thank you. That was Bullseye.